This is one of those trigger alerts. You're not going to want to hear this. What's going on? You saw the title and you see the thumbnail. We're going to go right into it. I have heard many conversations, many panel discussions on YouTube, because I keep my eye and my ears to the ground on YouTube when it comes to relationship talk, right? The dynamic between men and women in relationships. And I found that there are many women who are unable to explain what they can bring into a relationship, right? Demand that they receive what they want in a relationship. And then when the man can't produce that and they break up, they tend to label the man narcissistic. And it caused me to do some thinking, do some research, even do some praying, because I want to see relationships thrive. But I got to be honest with you, with what's being put out there, with the discussion that's been had, I don't think that both men and women are listening to one another, nor are men and women necessarily reflecting on their own behavior and their own contributions to the demise of their relationships. Today, I'm going to be speaking specifically and primarily to the female dynamic in a relationship and how, after a breakup, many women will deem the man to be a narcissist, and that's why they broke up. Now, I've heard panels and watched panels of women who have been single claiming that they're single because their boyfriends were narcissistic or their husbands were narcissistic, so they broke up with them. Okay, those same women cannot, and I repeat, cannot explain what they can bring to a relationship. However, can clearly, using points and bullets, explain what men should be bringing into a relationship. And in fact, many of them said, I bring myself. Or, I've heard this before, you may have heard this, I am the table. So we're living in a time where both men and women refuse to acknowledge what they can bring into a relationship. Now, here's the difference though, right? And there's been talking points about this. Men, for the most part, will put in the work to be in a relationship because men, even in dysfunctional situations, have been told that you need to be a producer. Most men live life believing that their role in society is to be a producer. So that's what they do. They produce, right? And in order to keep their women happy, they have to produce. But here's the problem. Many men are producing, right? And the women are not appreciative of what they are producing. Therefore, if they do not produce what the woman deems is appropriate for them in a relationship, they deem the man a narcissist because they're not making them feel happy. We use that word narcissist way too loosely to the point where it's lost its actual definition. Its actual definition. And here's the thing. Many of you women may not like to hear this. However, many of you women calling men narcissist are narcissistic yourself. And I will show you in this video. Okay. Now, I want you guys to see a video of, now I'm not endorsing her at all, but she did bring up a good and valid point that I'm going to be sharing with you guys. I found this on Instagram. It was shared with me and I wanted to share with you guys, and we're going to just commentate on it for a hot second.
A lot of people right now in the world are engaging in pseudo-healing. And I think it's just narcissistic navel-gazing, and they're actually not really healing.
What does that mean,
I
pseudo-healing?
think is that they're doing whatever they're doing. Like, I meditate 75 times a day, and I do mindfulness this, and I ayahuasca that, and blah, 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 blah. And they do all of that, but they're still really going through the world in a rather monstrous, entitled, dismissive, contemptuous way. But it's sort of like, you know, what I call healing porn or recovery porn. Like, look at my recovery, I'm so recovery-ish. And
it's like a spiritual bypass.
Yeah, exactly, it's a spiritual bypass. And that gives me pause. So you can't even just say, oh, they're doing all this work on themselves. I don't care how much work they're doing on themselves.
How are they showing up?
Behavior. I think that a lot.
So that's a very good and valid point, right? There's a lot of talk about mindfulness and mental health and all that stuff. And here's the thing, when we talk about mental health, and a lot of times we're using it in a term to like demean or shame somebody, right? By calling somebody narcissistic or saying that they need mental help or they need therapy and things like that. Many people need therapy. We all need somebody to talk to, right? The difference is a lot of people, specifically the women in a lot of these panels I've been watching, use that mental health argument in order to shame men who may just need to talk to somebody, or use the term narcissistic because they refuse to accept responsibility for their own actions. All right. So let's talk about this. Women in the relationship break up. They claim to do healing. They go on Instagram, start posting all their exploits on Instagram, talking about how they're healing and they're self-healing and they're avoiding narcissists at all costs and all that stuff. And really, it just gives me that whole, like, it's nonsense. It's nonsense because it's not actual healing. It's, as this lady puts it, pseudo healing. So what they're doing is they refuse to acknowledge their contribution to a demise of the relationship, blaming it solely on the man being a narcissist, just simply because he probably is not producing what you expect him to produce. But then when he actually tells you, well, I expect this also in a relationship, you get upset and say, look at this misogynistic male telling me what I should be doing in a relationship. Now, many women who claim men to be narcissists are narcissistic themselves. And I'm going to tell you why right here. Stop me if you heard this before. A man asks a woman, what do you bring to the table? She responds, I am the table. I bring myself to the table. I'm a queen. And then she starts giving herself all these accolades that she may not necessarily deserve or have earned. But then if you ask her, well, what is a man supposed to do in a relationship? She will literally roll out this huge text with bullet points and subpoints and all that stuff explaining her expectations of a man in a relationship. But then if a man does it, he's wrong. He's misogynistic. Everybody goes into a relationship hoping to receive something. However, if you are looking to receive something in a relationship without being able to clearly communicate what you can give in a relationship, you know what that makes you? A narcissist. Not necessarily narcissist, but have narcissistic tendencies. So women, if you cannot clearly explain what you bring into a relationship, what value you would bring to a marriage, and I'm not saying what value that you bring to a man. I'm talking about what value you would bring into a marriage while you expect a man to bring value into your marriage or even to you. If you cannot clearly explain what you bring into a marriage, but then expect it, you may fall in line with that narcissistic attitude and behavior, right? Let's look up the definition of narcissist. The Mayo Clinic states that narcissistic personality disorder, which is actually a mental health disorder, is not something that you can just loosely diagnose. You got to be a medical professional, a mental health professional to actually diagnose narcissism, all right? There's some great channels out there that talk about narcissism, and I support those channels, but there are a lot of people out there that are willing to just throw this term narcissist out there without clearly understanding what narcissistic personality disorder is. And what they tend to do is they use it as a way to attack somebody and to shame them, and that's wrong. But hear me out. Narcissistic personality disorder is a mental health condition in which people have an unreasonably high sense of their own importance. They need and seek too much attention and want people to admire them. If you look at a lot of the Instagrams out there, a lot of it is I'm just gonna leave that right there, ladies. I'm just gonna leave that right there. Okay, social media, all that stuff. I'm just gonna leave it right there. This is not like judgment, but it's just that it's time to self-reflect, ladies. It really is. People with this disorder may lack the ability to understand or care about the feelings of others, which means like women who break up with men who will automatically label them as a narcissist, right? And blame the man, will not ever self-reflect and think, well, what did I do in a relationship to help bring the demise? It's always about somebody else and not concerned about their feelings. But behind the mask of extreme confidence, they are not sure of their self-worth and are easily upset by the slightest criticism. Well, what would you bring to a relationship? What do you mean? How dare you ask me that? How dare you ask me that? That's misogynistic to ask a woman that. So so I'm not saying all women have this tendency. However, if we look at what's been out there, the women that have been debating men on these panels about, relationships, a lot of them have this kind of attitude, right? But let's take a look at some of the symptoms, right? Have an unreasonably high sense of self-importance and require constant excessive admiration. The need to be told that they're a queen all the time. The need to be all that stuff, right? Feel that they deserve privileges and special treatment. You expect a man to pay for a first date and go all out and ball out on a first date. You expect to receive special treatment just because you're a woman. You deserve respect and honor because you're a woman. But you don't get special treatment because you're a pretty woman and I'm going to take you out on a date. Not me, because I'm married. So not me. That's another man. Come on. Expect to be recognized as superior even without achievements. Want to be told they're a queen without being queenly. They want to be, and now this is just specifically for women. I'm going to do one for men. So ladies, chill out. But the women want to be praised just because they're a woman and they necessarily didn't do anything. There are women out there who want to be, called, all these great things. And then they would use arguments like, well, I'm able to give birth. Well, you haven't yet. So let's talk about that. And then we'll give you that extra respect. But until then, hold your horses. All right. And this goes for men too. Men want certain accolades without, necessarily earning them, but they expect to be recognized as superior even without achievements. Make achievements and talents seem bigger than they are, right? Bigger than they are. A lot of this has also to do, even when you're comparing it with somebody else, right? Like a mother, right, would say, I bring life into this world. Well, you don't do it by yourself. You don't do it by yourself, right? Let me go back in the account. You ignore the contributions of the male who helped you bring this child into the world. That could be narcissistic. So again, we have to really self-reflect. And you guys are probably saying this is coming from a male. You don't want to hear it. It is what it is. Believe they are superior to others and can only spend time with or be understood by equally special people. They can be critical of or look down on people they feel are not important, expect several favors, and expect other people to do what they want without questioning them. If I ask a question like, why should a man pay, $600, $700 on a first date on you? I can't ask that. Or they'll shame you. I can't be in a struggle relationship or with no broke dude. Come on, all right? And there's others here, and I'll leave the link down below so you guys can get access to this. But I think my point has been made, right? Now, again, men and women fall in line with this, but what women tend to do is, and you'll find, if you go on YouTube and you search up narcissist, you'll find a lot of women talking about this specific thing, labeling men as narcissistic simply because their relationship ended, all right? The man chose, listen, I don't want to be in this toxic situation anymore. This is not good. I need to leave. But then there are some men in relationships that have been narcissistic. The problem is like the boy who cried wolf, right? The boy cried wolf more times than he should have, lying about it, or just lying about it. And then when it really happens, nobody can believe it because they lied about it all the time. Like most words, we overuse specific terms, and while we overuse it over time, the definition and the meaning and the power of the word tends to diminish. Newsflash: not everybody you claim to be a narcissist is a narcissist. Breaking news flash: you who are calling a man a narcissist just might be a narcissist yourself. But that takes self-reflection. So I want to encourage you ladies today, do some self-reflection. This is one of those trigger alerts. You're not going to want to hear this, but I say this in love. I really do. I want you guys to do some self-reflection and stop using this term narcissist so loosely, because you really don't know what it means. Most men, you have more men than women who are narcissists. There are more men than women who have been diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. That's a fact. I will not deny that. However, if you claim to have expectations on somebody else, and when they have expectations on you, and you demand that they meet those expectations, but you don't have to, you yourself may fall in line with struggling with narcissistic personality disorder. I'm out.